Here on RaceSpotTV, we love Thursday nights. The double of GR86 and MX5, followed by the Super Formula Series here on RaceSpotTV. We hope that you are enjoying your evening, your morning, your afternoon, wherever you may be in the world, and we hope to provide you some fantastic racing action here. First off, of course, is the MX5s and GR86s for their second round of the season. We had to take an unscheduled week off last week, but we are back and we are racing at the Nürburgring. Here on RaceSpotTV, it's me, Reese Gardner. Mark Kalin is with me in the commentary box, and Hugo Luis is behind the scenes pressing all the buttons and bringing you these live pictures. Well, Mark, we're in Germany at the Green Hell. It's going to be a challenge for the drivers, to say the least.
Oh, at the very least, Reese. The Nürburgring Nordschleife combined track is a monster of a track with over 100 corners, 8+ minute lap times. It's intense, to say the least, and these guys have to be on their toes every step of the way to avoid disaster around every corner.
They absolutely do, and have a look at the foggy conditions out there. It's a shame that we had to miss last week, because it would have been interesting to see how the cars conducted themselves around Motorsport Arena Oschersleben, but we will have to move on to the rest of the season, which certainly runs the gamut of great circuits for production car racing. Lebanon is the next round. I'm really looking forward to that. Motorland Aragon Outer, that's going to be a massive draft fest for sure.
Yes, it is. The profile of these cars allows for the incredible drafting abilities, especially down the long straightaway at the back half of the track. Expect to see some passes if cars are close, within about a second of each other coming down that straightaway.
Absolutely. Laguna Seca, Long Beach, Willow Springs, and Virginia to end out the season. Fantastic schedule indeed. Those dates are all there, so mark them in your calendar. For the driver standings in the GR86, well, Brett Gardner is on top, having won the first round at Winton Motor Raceway. Andrew Sharp only 4 points behind, with Maxime David rounding out the top three. Michael Diaz making his return to the lower classes of racing here at the PRL after taking the Super Formula Series Championship in style last season. Graham Wildman also competing and doing very well for himself in the top 5. The points, of course, still very close. We are only one round of points worth into the season, so this is definitely going to change quite massively as the season goes on. In terms of the team standings, or Tech Sport Academy by AMS, that is the team Brett Gardner is a part of, with Ian Brown and Jake Cummings. 97 points, a great result for them so far, but a three-way tie for second between Soy Boys Racing, the No Team team, and Valhalla Motorsports. Throttle Thursday is right there as well. There's going to be some big changes coming out of this round, I'm sure, with how challenging the Green Hell is. In terms of the MX5s, Lincoln Fox was the one to take victory at the first round of the season, followed by David Barkley, Michael Chase. Pat Labrosse certainly fast in the MX5, only 2 points ahead of Andrew Gilliland. And once again, it's pretty much the same situation as it is in the GR86. There's only one round's worth of points to go off, so what you're effectively looking at is the results from the first race. It'll be quite easy to see who has the advantage. Itasca Point is dominating the team standings in the MX5s at the moment. They definitely have the best crew so far. At least that was the case at Winton. Will the Green Hell change things for them? Big Fast Racing not far behind in the point standings, but there's quite a gap back to Heartland Motorsport, Asa Motorsports, and Solpec Precision Racing. Well, We look forward to bringing you this show here, which is brought to you by many great sponsors at the Precision Racing League, one of the largest online racing communities in the world. It's brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available on the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products. You just got to use the Precision 5 coupon code at checkout, advancedsimracing.com. RaceBox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com. You'll also get a 5% discount there using the Precision 5 coupon code. Butt Kicker products add incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. Moradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. Moradness.com, also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Discord as well. Mr. Hedge iRacing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. MrHedge.co.uk. He's also on Facebook and Instagram. And finally, get ready to learn to be fast with Advanced Motorsports. Follow them on their socials to become a better driver. They're everywhere you can think of: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Threads. No matter what platform you're coming from, Advanced Motorsports has something for you. Big thanks to all the sponsors that help to provide the fantastic action here at the Precision Racing League. We are currently in qualifying at the moment. And considering that usually it's 4 laps over 10 minutes in these series, I've had to make a couple of changes for the Green Hell mark. Drivers do still get a maximum of 4 laps, but I don't think they're going to be able to cover them in 20 minutes. We have currently Brett Gardner on pole position, but the gap is incredibly close for the GR86 pole.
Yeah, less than 1 second between the top 3 drivers right now. Looks like we got Brett Gardner currently sitting on the pole position provisionally. Andrew Sharp followed closely in second, with Ian Brown in third. Yeah, just 8 minutes flat for these guys. 7:59 for the top 2. Very tight and very long laps.
Yeah, I'm actually amazed that the gap for pole is that close, considering how long the track is. 22.8 kilometers, and iRacing counts 154 turns around the Industriefahrten layout of the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So I think, it all comes down to those micro gains that you make out of every single corner. There's a few distinct sections of the track where you can certainly make up some time, but Andrew Sharp there, I think, getting a bit of an off track coming through the end of the circuit. But any track time is good track time around the Nürburgring. He's about to enter one of my favorite sections of the circuit. You get airborne over that bump through the double apex right, and then on your way down to Hoheacht, this is a massive drop in the elevation of the track. And I tell you what, it's massively scary in a high downforce, high speed car. Probably no less terrifying in a GR86 Cup.
Yeah, no less terrifying indeed, but much more forgiving. These cars with a little bit less stiff, I would say, of suspension, so wouldn't immediately bounce you around like some of your heavier sports cars, but nonetheless exhilarating in every aspect of the word.
Absolutely. He went through the Kleine Karussell just there. The second of the turns here that have concrete banked lining the inside of the corner, and then you have to nail the exit here because you have the Grünhöhle straight. This is a fantastic section of the circuit, and if the weather was clearer, we'd be able to see Nürburg Castle over there to the right, that hill that you see in the distance. Hello, Andrew. Yeah, indeed. It's just a case of waiting, really, for Andrew now. Just cruise down the straight and hope that you get the best exit possible. You flat out all the way down this straight, and I think this is where a lot of the passes are going to be made, Mark. This is where the slipstream really kicks in.
Exactly right. And if you're within a second, maybe a second and a half behind the car in front, you're definitely going to catch them, and you'll have a great opportunity to pass them before the end of the straightaway.
Absolutely, but you got to negotiate these high-speed S-bends first. Last real braking zone of the lap. Try and extend it as much as you can. Use the curbs to their max, which is difficult to say the least in the GR86. And the final corner is negotiated there, and that's the start-finish line. Andrew Sharp ends up crossing the line there. That lap obviously wouldn't have counted because he got that off track earlier on, but Ian Brown has gone much faster. The gap for pole is now 1.5 seconds. Ian Brown sitting on the GR86 pole with Lincoln Fox on pole in the MX5s. Just 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining on the clock, which means Pat Labrosse should have just enough time to get to the end of the circuit. We'll see if he can make up that 4.5 seconds that he's got.
Yeah, and we'll have to keep an eye out as well, Reese, with the MX5s. The MX5s are only 5 seconds off the pace, at least for pole position right now. And we'll have to see if they can maintain some kind of visual to the GR86s with the ability of the draft.
Yeah, exactly. If they can stick with them around the first lap, then the leaders of the MX5s will certainly have a good opportunity for some extra slipstream, with the GR86 having a slightly higher top speed. Well, Labrosse coming into the final couple of corners now. He will definitely make it to the line with plenty of time to spare, but he won't be able to set any more laps after this one. He'll be hoping that this is nailed here. 8:05.9. Well, he did make up some time on that lap, but it wasn't quite enough to get into the top two there. Lincoln Fox and Michael Chase still your top two. And meanwhile, with a minute and a half on the clock, Zach Yurt hasn't set a lap time just yet in the GR86s, but he'll be able to get at least one in. And I think that one and only lap he gets in is going to count for everything at this stage.
Yeah, so long as he doesn't have any off tracks that we don't know about, this lap should count. Granted, if he can keep it on the track for these final few corners coming up here in just a moment. Again, very long straightaway, and feels like it just takes forever in these cars to get down this stretch of road.
Yeah, certainly. Top speed at the end of the straight is about 205 kilometers per hour for Zach Yurt before the track levels out and starts going uphill again. He's a bit deep there coming into the final chicane here, but through the final corner he comes, and the time is going to be an 8:05.7. That's good enough for 7th place in the GR86s and 9th place overall. The top three in MX5 have 2 GR86s splitting them in the form of Jake Cummings and Zach Yurt. And with that, it looks like that's pretty much everyone that has set a time that possibly can in this session. Qualifying rapidly ticking down, and that is going to end things off for that session. We are going to go through the grid now. It's Ian Brown and Brett Gardner, the front row lockout for Tech Sport Academy, with Andrew Sharp for Vermilion Motorsports on the second row with Michael Diaz. 5th and 6th in the GR86s, Jeremy Rogers and Jake Cummings. They are split by the top 2 in MX5s. Zach Yurt and Keith Gwinnett are going to start 7th and 8th with Jean-Sebastian Bedard and Kevin Berquist rounding out the top 10 in GR86. Wyckoff and Douglas rounding out the top 12. And we also have Aidan Irvin setting a time in qualifying. Steve Bammer did not set a time in qualifying, but he was here in practice, so he is hoping he gets onto the grid. Lincoln Fox and Michael Chase, along with Pat Labrosse, the 1, 2, 3 for Itasca Point. David Barkley in 4th place. Peter Muller and Austin Bartlett Chase rounding out our 6 MX5s that are going to take to the start here. Wow. I mean, it's obviously a bit of a smaller grid than we saw at the first round at Winton, but multiple reasons for that. And, you know, I don't think it's going to affect the racing all that much, to be honest, Mark. This track provides enough entertainment as it is.
Exactly right, you are. Yeah, we do have a small grid size. You hate to see that, but the racing here is going to be phenomenal. I have a good feeling about that, because you have some outstanding drivers at the front of both of these fields, and they're going to put everything out on the line. And as far as these MX5s are concerned, Reese, I believe ISTA, Team ISTA, was it Point? They're going to have
Point?
Itasca Point. I couldn't get the name out. Itasca Point is going to have a great points night.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Locking out the top three in qualifying, and they certainly have big pace. They are faster than half of the GR86s, but are being gridded behind them. So we're going to be seeing those top MX5s potentially making some moves here on the first lap. We also saw the conditions in the bottom right just before. It's a very cold track out there, and cool conditions, only 20 degrees Celsius in the air, and of course light fog. So our aerial shots probably not going to show much. We'll hopefully be keeping to the on-track lowdown cameras, because my goodness, it's going to be magnificent in terms of the action that you are about to see. The formation begins, and of course short formation lap at the Nordschleife. I don't think anyone wants to do a full formation lap around here in the sim.
No, that would take about a year and a half to complete.
Certainly would. Well, we're rapidly closing in now to the final corners, and that means Ian Brown is gearing up for the start here. That's the view of the whole field here from behind the pace car. The MX5s not leaving a gap to the GR86s, and I think that makes sense. The cars are quite similar in pace, depending on where on the circuit you are, but just a couple of corners remain. Through the pits, the pace car will come, and Ian Brown is already up to speed, and we are away. The green flag will fly for the GR86 and MX5 series here at the Precision Racing League. Ian Brown with a great lead already. Brett Gardner defensive on Michael Diaz, as Andrew Sharp has to try and go 2 by 2 through the Sabina Schmitz corner to start off the lap. And then one of my favorite sections of racetrack in the world, Hutzenbach, is coming. Let's see who gets the best run through here.
Yeah, nose to tail. Nobody really getting away from each other at the moment. MX5s are underway.
It looks like they have left a gap to the GR86s. I was mistaken in that assumption, but a good start from the Itasca Point trio. They are going to have a nice lead over David Barkley. Moller and Bartlett Chase trailing the field, and for now, it's looking like the racing is nice and orderly at the moment. It's difficult to make passes around here. You've got to be able to set up in the slipstream. But for now, Pat Labrosse still chasing down Michael Chase, and have a look at this. This is on board with Andrew Sharp. He's going for the lead on Brett Gardner in the GR86s. No, actually, he's going for second. My apologies. Brett Gardner was so far ahead that the fog was consuming him for a bit on the production feed there. Andrew trying to get into the top two, but wisely backing out of it here. This is such a difficult corner to get right. You can carry so much speed through here. Running wide, not the end of the world. You can get a good run up the hill.
Yeah, and you saw on that straightaway, Andrew was able to get to that bumper and enable a bump draft to try and close that gap between Gardner and Brown.
Yes, it was a difference of about 1.5 seconds for pole position, which means Andrew Sharp should gain quite a bit here on the first lap if the drivers behind him don't work together. But for now, Brett Gardner still holding on to P2. Michael Diaz is shadowing this battle at the moment, and for now, it's looking like still very orderly as they get into the top part of the circuit. Andrew Sharp is quite focused at the moment. It's going to be difficult to follow through this section, though. Coming up to the town of Adenau, that's how long this circuit is. It's also a sequence of the circuit, very twisty, with a lot of high-speed corners in these cars. Jean-Sebastien Bedard up to 8th spot. He managed to gain a spot over Keith Gwinnett on the first lap, but that's the only real position change we've seen so far.
Yeah, there were some side-by-side battles back further in the pack, but no one was able to gain anything. They just kind of settled out where they started. So everyone kind of running in the same spots right now. No one really making up any time. As we switch to the Mazdas now, looks like everyone's still in their same positions as well from when they started the race. It looks like Austin Bartlett Chase has fallen off from these guys by about 4 seconds.
Yeah, he's not had a good run through that sector of the circuit, but the Itasca Point trio is nice and orderly as they make their way up to Adenauer Forst. Lincoln Fox still leading the way. Michael Chase and Pat Labrosse, though, closer than the battle for the lead. So we'll see if Labrosse will be able to get a slipstream on as they make their way past the incredibly quick section of the circuit leading up to the carousel, up to Bergwerk now. This left-hand kink they're approaching is the spot where Niki Lauda had his huge crash in 1976. They make their way through at a bit of a slower speed than Lauda would have, and the braking zone for Bergwerk a lot faster than it looks this corner, and you have to nail the exit because you've got a long flat-out section to come.
Yeah, you have to nail those ever so important corners leading onto the straightaways, because if you don't get them right, you just drain time.
Yeah, speaking of draining, see that Lincoln Fox has not gotten a great run and his teammates are drafting him. Look who's sticking with them as well. David Barkley. He was just close enough to get a whisper of slipstream, and he's right with Itasca Point now.
And Peter Muller is not too far off, so if these guys get side by side, Peter can easily get right back up there as we have a pass going into the carousel here.
Oh, yeah, that's Andrew Sharp running wide at carousel. And that's the one thing you don't want to do at that corner. You need to take the banking, otherwise you lose all of your pace. He's back to fourth.
Yeah, and that banking has always scared me in particular, Reese. It just doesn't feel right to drive. I know it's the fast lane, but it just doesn't feel right in the car for me. But unfortunately, it looked like Michael Diaz got a nose under Andrew, and Andrew had no choice but to take the high lane.
Yeah, indeed, aggressive moves from Michael Diaz at the start of this race, but now Andrew Sharp will have the opportunity to make the move back. They obviously have the very long Green Hill Straight coming up now, and there's a lot to play for around the second half of this circuit. Just need to make sure that you nail your apexes. So through what Jimmy Broadbent calls YouTube corner, this is where you see a lot of, oh no, I've just seen a crash. Lincoln Fox has crashed in the MX5s. He was our leader, and he's had a spin. I'm not sure what's gone on there for Lincoln, but, oh man, that's such a shame. He just made a mistake all by himself.
Oh, wow. You see significant rear end damage to that Mazda as well. I wonder if he had help. You said he was by himself?
Yeah, he was. He was actually well ahead of his teammates at the time, and just ran over a curb and the car got unsettled. It is now an Itasca Point 1-2 with Michael Chase and Pat Labrosse, and Peter Moller has caught up to David Barkley, so we still have a four-way battle for the lead in MX5s. This is what happened to Lincoln Fox. Yeah, just got crossed up over the curb and spun out, and that's where that rear end damage you pointed out came from, Mark.
Yeah, and that's a lot of damage, a lot of times hitting and bouncing off the wall. That car is not going to be driving pretty for the rest of this race.
No, it's a real shame there for Lincoln Fox, and I'm also seeing that there's a problem for Zach Yurt in the GR86s as well at the Kleiner Carousel. He's somehow lost it, and it looks like he's escaped damage for the time being. He will continue on, but still, that's a lot of positions lost. This is the replay. What happened to Yurt? Just, too aggressive in. The rear end was gone but before he even got to the apex.
Yeah, and it looked like that carousel, that banking in the carousel kind of helped him out a little bit, slowed him down a little. But yeah, just unfortunate, lost it. Managed to keep it off of any objects though, as Steve Bammer was not so lucky bouncing off of hard impact. That's a broken right front right there.
Yeah, no surprise to see that he's escaped back to the pits. It's going to be a very long tow time for Steve Bammer, and he will be well and truly out of contention for this race. The MX5 battle still going on for the lead. Labrosse moves ahead of Chase there, and it's a draft train, but it looks like Peter Moller's not willing to play the game here. He wants to try and go for it down the straight.
All of them.
That's amazing. That's an excellent slipstream that Peter Moller's gotten. The bump draft isn't working. Oh, actually, now they've gotten down to the end of the straight, it is. The Itasca Point duo now has to fend off this outside chance from Peter Moller, but he's backing out of it. He doesn't want to go for it just yet.
Yeah, it looked like it took him a quick second to get the bump draft going there, but towards the end of that straightaway, they got it settled out and maintained their positions. That was a great little fight right there. I like that.
Yeah, certainly was. Love that. Well, lap 1 is now complete, and that is the state of play in MX5s. The twisties will belong to Itasca Point, but as long as Barkley and Moller can stay within about a second, maybe 2 seconds of them, then they'll easily be able to keep up in the slipstream. Also noticing that Michael Chase there has a little bit of damage to his front end. That's probably from bump drafting Labrosse, and from what we've seen of MX5 so far, a little bit of front end damage is not going to affect your top speed.
Yeah, right you are, Reese. That was exactly right. From the bump drafting there, going down the straightaway. They're very easy to crinkle up the noses on these cars, but yeah, like you said, fortunately, they don't really affect it too much.
Well, moving back up to GR86 now, Ian Brown and Brett Gardner holding it down here in the Tech Sport Academy team, and doesn't look like they have much pressure from Michael Diaz and Andrew Sharp now. They've managed to jet their way ahead, presumably down the back straight beside the castle. So we'll have to wait and see if they can hold on to this lead. Remember that there's a chance that drivers might have to take a pit stop over the course of this race, but when you take that pit stop, it certainly becomes more difficult when the track is as long as it is.
Yeah, and strategy is going to come in to play with that as well if they have to take a pit stop. I mean, there's 154 corners, Reese. I mean, you surely could probably extend it by lifting and coasting into a lot of these corners, don't you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Fuel saving would be quite easy at the Nürburgring. So many twisty sections of this track where if you lift off a little bit, sometimes you actually get an advantage in terms of pace. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. This lead battle for MX5 has shown no signs of slowing down. It is Pat Labrosse still leading the way from Michael Chase. But, you know, the nature of racing around the Nürburgring, well, one part of it is not making mistakes. That's exactly what Pat Labrosse did just then.
Now, I don't want to jinx it, Reese, but these Mazdas battling it out right here for the top 4 positions, they are running down the final 3 spots in GR86. They're only 5 seconds behind them currently.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. Zach Yurt, Aiden Irvin, and Josiah Douglas are the last 3 of the GR86s, all involved in a fight with each other at the moment. So we'll see if the Mazdas can get their pace up and maybe hitch onto the back of that GR86 train. The question is how much time they're going to be able to make up, because the GR86s definitely have the advantage when you get to the flat out sections, a bit more power in the GR86 Cup. Meanwhile, the bump draft is on for the Tech Sport Academy by AMS cars, the red machines at the front of the field, but I'm seeing that Diaz and Sharp are starting to catch them up again. They're going to have to start working together if they want to go up against Brown and Gardner.
Yeah, their only hope is to not battle it out, just keep pushing each other forward and minimize the mistakes, and they'll get there.
Yeah, they certainly will. Got to make their way through the carousel first, as looks like the top three in MX5 have broken away now. Peter Moller has completely lost touch with Labrosse, Chase and Barkley. Into the carousel then for the GR86s. This is where we saw Andrew Sharp running wide on the first lap. Well, he manages to hit the apex this time around. Diaz was a bit more aggressive out of there, though. We'll see if that gives him an advantage.
Oh yeah, I see the gap coming down visually, down to 3/4 of a second currently and dropping.
Yeah, it looks like Diaz and Sharp are very strong in this section of the circuit as the MX5s are about to make their way up to that section now. It's a good advantage that Michael Chase enjoys, and there it is on screen. You see how close they've gotten to the tail end of the GR86 pack.
Yeah, it's down to less than 3 seconds now. So these MX5 drivers are really, really quick.
Yeah, remember the top two in MX5 were basically splitting the GR86s at the top of the field. So a lot that can be taken away from that in terms of pace for them. Through YouTube corner, the GR86s go, and well, the top four almost equidistant now. So we're going to have a great battle in them. But they come to the straight as there's a problem for David Barkley there. He's lost third place in MX5 to Peter Moller. Looks like he just made an error in roughly the same location we saw Lincoln Fox go just before. As I'm seeing on my timing screen, Aiden Irvin is falling down the field. He's towed back to the pits, so there's been a big problem for the 259.
I'm sure we'll get a replay of that soon enough, Reese. But yeah, I missed what happened to David Barkley there. I was more focused on Ian Brown because exiting the corner that the Mazdas just exited, Ian stepped a left rear tire off into the dirt gravel, so I was worried about him being able to gather that back up. As we have our first traffic of the night.
Yeah, indeed. The Mazda's now up against Josiah Douglas, and it looks like the move will be made there. But have a look at the move coming onto the straight here for Brett Gardner. Let's see how much he helps his teammate here coming off the... Oh.
Barkley has had an issue. He's returned to the box.
Oh, no. David Barkley, I mean, he was doing so well on the first 1.5 laps of this race as the draft train begins in GR86. But yeah, David Barkley, it seems, has not had a very good time on the rest of this lap. Going back to see exactly what happened to him, and yeah, it looks like another case of just unfortunately I actually don't know what's going on here. So he was running in fourth, but it looks like he's just pulling over. I mean, he does hit the wall, but it doesn't seem like the car got unsettled or anything.
I'm wondering if he had an equipment malfunction going on there.
Maybe, or perhaps not putting the race fuel in the car. Oh my God, Ian Brown. Wow. Okay. What on earth happened there for Ian Brown? He went super wide. It looks like he got into a slide off the curb and he had to jump on the brakes there. Andrew Sharp will take the fastest lap, and now Ian Brown has it all ahead of him.
Yeah, Ian looks like he just got a little crossed up exiting that corner. Very fortunate to immediately get on the brakes and avoid that tire barrier right there.
Yeah, indeed. This is a second view of it. Getting on the brakes and jumping over the curb. The rear gets loose and, oh, so close to disaster.
Yeah, just too much curb. Kicked him around a little bit, but wow. Very impressive driving from Ian Brown to not hit anything.
Yeah, good recovery, and he's not too far behind the top three either, so he might be able to gain that back through some good driving and getting into slipstream range by the time they get to the flat-out sections. Well, then there were three in the MX5 battle. We have lost Lincoln Fox from this battle, though he is still running on track. 5th place in MX5 with Austin Bartlett Chase ahead of him. And we have lost David Barkley. This is what happened to Irvin. It's another case of getting crossed up over the curbs in those fast S's. A very easy thing to do.
That was a hard knock right there.
Yeah, very hard indeed. No surprise to see the damage was too great for him to continue. Meanwhile, looks like Andrew Sharp has made his way into second versus Michael Diaz for the GR86 top 2, but the top 2 in MX5 has a change as well. Pat Labrosse, with a very poor exit, has to give it up to Peter Moller. And have a look at this. This is actually the entirety of our GR86 top 3. Great defense from Andrew Sharp here, but he's a little bit offline. He's going to be compromised in this section. Will Diaz be able to make a move?
And that right there just allowed Ian to gain about 0.4 of a second on these guys, so he'll be back in the fight soon enough.
Yeah, indeed. Ian is right behind them. It's only about 1.2 seconds. In fact, even less than that. It's about 1 second of a gap that he has. If that, 1.4 behind the lead is showing. So, yeah, Ian Brown has recovered right away. It's amazing what half a lap's difference can make at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, and I mean, it's 154 corners, Reese. You can't express that enough because, I mean, that's 150 plus chances to make a mistake. And just like that, you're either in it again or completely out of it.
Well, let's see how aggressive these drivers are at Adenauer Forst on the way up to Bergwerk.
And you see him right there, about 2 or 3 car lengths behind Diaz right there. But he looked like he had a poor exit out of that corner. He looked like he lost a little time.
Yeah, it seems like he did, but you never know. A good exit from Bergwerk could certainly help things out for Ian. Meanwhile, Michael Diaz trying again on Ian Brown. He's going to go for it at Bergwerk. This is an interesting place to go for a move. We'll see if Andrew Sharp yields and allows Diaz to continue on. They'll try and bump draft up to Brett Gardner, I'd imagine, as Diaz takes second place, coming into that fearsome corner with barely any runoff on the exit. Ian Brown now right on the back of them with an excellent exit from Bergwerk. He's going to run side by side with Andrew Sharp potentially, but maybe, yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's backing out just a little bit to continue the draft train. They don't want Brett Gardner to get away.
Oh, he's sticking his nose in there. Looked like very close quarters action from Ian Brown. He wants to get around Sharp so badly. Gosh, this is tight.
Yeah, this is a bit close for comfort here, coming into one of the most terrifying corners on the circuit right here. It's so difficult to get the line right, and the Armco barrier is right there. This is such an entertaining fight. They have well and truly caught up to Brett Gardner now, and Diaz is going to try and go for the lead here, potentially. Defensive from Brett Gardner. We'll see if Diaz can go for a lunge into the carousel, but not alongside, so I think he'll have to yield for the time being. But this battle is by no means over. Meanwhile, this is Jean-Sébastien Bedard and Keith Gwinnett fighting on the bottom of your screen for 8th place in GR86. Matthew Wyckoff was making some moves earlier on in the race, and he has the most positions gained in the GR86 field. He is up 4 spots now. Jeremy Rogers and Jake Cummings are also fighting over 5th place in that category. So no matter where you look, there is racing.
Who says a small grid doesn't bring action?
Absolutely. I think the Nordschleifer is the great equalizer when it comes to smaller grids. You know, you have a very close spread of skill level in this series. So any small mistake that is made around here certainly brings every other driver into contention.
Yeah, a lot of fantastic drivers here in the Precision Racing League. One of the main reasons why I've stuck with them for so many years, racing myself. Just a lot of top-notch talent, a lot of good friends, and always ready to bring the action.
Yep, speaking of action, Michael Diaz is dialing it up on Brett Gardner for the leaders. Off the circuit goes Jean-Sébastien Bedard. They've actually managed to catch up to Matthew Wyckoff there, so it's now a 3-way battle for 7th place to add to the 4-way battle for the lead of the race in GR86. Oh my god, this is fantastic. Though it looks like they've broken into 2 groups of 2. That should only last for a few corners though. Andrew Sharp and Ian Brown will easily be able to get the slipstream from here.
Oh yeah, very easily. Gonna see some bump drafting here, most likely. Maybe not. Coming up to some corners.
Yeah, certainly not this corner. The Kleiner Carousel. Watch for the concrete banking on the inside. You have to turn in early and stick to the inside through there to get the maximum speed through the corner. You're almost launching yourself out of it for the best run onto the back stretch as Pat Labrosse has taken the lead in the MX5 category. Michael Chase was well ahead for a short time, but seems like Labrosse has dialed it up here, and wow, he is looking aggressive. Chase actually going to lose out here to Peter Moller, who's gotten himself back into the battle here. Now holds on to second in MX5 as the lead for GR86 is on. Michael Diaz moving through to the lead, and Andrew Sharp is following him. Bump Draft and Tech Sport is down to third and fourth.
Yeah, Tech Sport not bumper to bumper right now, not enjoying that tandem drafting that Michael Diaz and Andrew Sharp are getting right now. But now they're all settled up, bumper to bumper, in the draft of Andrew Sharp. Maybe they'll get to him by the end of the corner here, or into the straight.
Maybe they will. Saw that Ian Brown was catching as much slipstream as he possibly could. The closing speed that he had was incredible, but he didn't get up in time to go for the top three or the lead. This battle between Gwinnett, Bedard, and Wyckoff is on as well. That's the fight for seventh. This is fantastic stuff, and it looks like Bedard, despite being a long way back when we last looked at him, is right with them. He's going to snatch a tiny bit of slipstream here side by side with Wyckoff. Keith Gwinnett at the front of this battle. Will his teammate Wyckoff give Bedard any trouble coming into the final couple of corners? He will not. So Valhalla sandwich, it's looking tasty.
I thought there was going to be some contact coming in through those little S's right there. Awful tight quarter action.
And there goes Bedard. Wow, what a move. Don't often see passes being made in the short stretch between the last and first corners here, but Jean-Sébastien Bedard has shown a fantastic assertiveness there and now takes seventh spot.
I think he's got a little Viking in him, going for it.
Absolutely. Invading the top seven right there is Jean-Sébastien Bedard, but Gwinnett and Wyckoff still very close. They'll be able to get into the slipstream coming out of Hatzenbach. And the next opportunity for a move still a bit further away, and of course mistakes are always an opportunity. Meanwhile, have a look at the lead once again. Diaz still up front with Andrew Sharp now trying to keep Brett Gardner and Ian Brown behind him, but he's wide through the right-hander. Oh, this is going to be a difficult section to run side by side through, and it looks like the Tech Sport guys are going to slot back in line for this section of the circuit.
Yeah, still a little over 9 minutes to go. So that's going to be at least this and one more lap, I would say. So yeah, it's still too early to risk anything, especially in this tight technical section of the track.
Yeah, indeed. 9 minutes remain on the clock, and well, a lap around here takes about 8 minutes. So we're looking at the penultimate lap here. Andrew Sharp holding on to second spot, and he's got eyes forward on Diaz, but he'll be looking in his mirrors as well, because Brett Gardner is right on his rear bumper. This will be interesting to see coming up to Bergwerk and the run down to Carousel. That's where we've seen a lot of the big moves being made.
Single file coming out of the corner, a little bit separated for everybody right now, just minding their P's and Q's at the moment.
Yeah, it's these sections of the circuit where you're just like, okay, maintain the gap, don't go for the move, because it's a lot more efficient, you would say, to go for it down the straight, but apparently no one told Brett Gardner. Andrew Sharp almost sent off the circuit there. Good thing he saw Gardner coming.
Wow, that was a late lunge from Brett Gardner. I doubt he meant to do that. Maybe he just missed the point. But wow, that could have been ugly.
certainly could have. I was halfway through making the point that through those twistier sections of the circuit, it's better to stay behind because you'll more easily get a pass done in the slipstream through the flat out sections. So, yeah, that's the reason why you see them fall into single file through the twisties and not make any moves. Now we are out of Bergwerk. Now the slipstream comes into play. Does Brett Gardner have enough here to get past Andrew Sharp? All of that battling has given a great advantage to Diaz. As a replay for Zach Yurt, he's lost the rear end, and it looks like, well, he's going to recover it, keep it out of the barrier, but that's a real shame there.
Yeah, it was a good job by Yurt to not hit anything there. As Jake Cummings gets it wrong coming out of that corner, manages not to hit anything as well. He's going to keep on going.
Well done to Jake Cummings on a nice recovery, but he's lost touch with Keith Gwinnett and Matthew Wyckoff, the battle for 7th place. Jean-Sebastien Bedard has put down some great driving over the last few minutes and gained about a second and a bit over them, but the battle for the lead is still on. The top 4, you can put nothing between them at the moment. On board again with Andrew Sharp, a great exit, but he's not going to be able to get the move done on Diaz at Carousel. Has to back out. Just stick behind as close as you can. Maintain speed through the apex. Get on the power a bit earlier than you expect and just ride the banking out of the corner and get a great run. Looks like Diaz has got that down pat.
Yeah, and Brett Gardner was thinking about making a move right there on Andrew Sharp coming up that hill, but he ducks back in line.
Yeah, have a look at how aggressive Sharp is on the entry into these corners, to say nothing of Brett Gardner and Ian Brown. The speed that they're carrying through the turns is amazing to see.
Yeah, to be able to follow so closely to the car in front of you here, it really says to the quality of drivers that we have here at the PRL.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Gardner had just a small little hiccup there, lost a little touch from Andrew Sharp.
Yeah, well, they'll be able to gain it back on the straight. Well, the MX5 battle we haven't checked in on for a while, and the top 3 are separated by nothing once again. Pat Labrosse is... well, he's got a slight advantage, but that advantage will be eliminated by the time they get to the next straight. Peter Moller and Michael Chase will be the battle to watch there, and seems like Moller, he had a bit of a slow start to the race, lost touch with the leaders early on, but he's managed to get that back, and he is a perfect contender for victory in this battle. This is amazing. Both of our classes having at least 3 drivers who have a solid chance of winning this race.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's honestly not very often that we get races like this where it's just non-stop action for the battle for the win and top 3 or 4 positions in each class.
I'm seeing that the tech sport... Oh, Diaz! Oh, my God. Kleiner Carousel. He took a bit too much speed through there, and Andrew Sharp now goes to the GR86 lead just in time for the back straight. And you don't want to be the leader coming onto the back straight here. You're going to get absolutely freight trained.
All right, Andrew, it's time to use some of that NASCAR skills that you've learned. Back up to the nose of the car behind you and engage that bump draft.
Here we go. Let's do this. Oh, have a look at the move there from Gardner and Brown. The teammates helping each other out here. This is really interesting. Who has the greatest amount of speed? By the time they get under the bridge, I think Gardner and Brown are going to be just in front. It's a battle of the bump draft, 2x2. Noah's arcing it under the bridge here.
Sharp and Diaz are coming back.
Oh, they are. This is going to be difficult. They're side by side coming into the final section of the circuit, and this is one of the places you don't want to see that. Someone's going to have to back out somewhere, and it's going to be Andrew Sharp.
Yeah, they're still going to have one more opportunity. It should be at the white flag here.
Yeah, 3 minutes on the clock. This is the last lap of the race. They will get 5 laps in, both the GR86s and MX5s. The race is short enough that we're not going to be seeing any of the GR86s lapping the MX5s on track. But now, Andrew Sharp, fully serious, fully focused. He's going to have a big game ahead of him.
Now, with this being the last lap, this is where you'd probably send a little bit of an extra spirited move, I should say, in these tight sectors, excuse me, with it being the last lap. So maybe we'll see something like that. Maybe we'll see them wait until the final straightaway. This should be exciting either way.
Absolutely should. I agree. I think the final straight is going to be where we're seeing the most moves. We also saw Michael Chase getting past Peter Moller there just a moment ago, back into second place in MX5s, but their battle has cost them a lot of time to Pat Labrosse. The gap is about 3 seconds that Peter Moller has. Chase 2.5 seconds behind Labrosse. We'll see if they can make that up. But the 1-2 for Tech Sport Academy by AMS, Brett Gardner and Ian Brown controlling the field at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if Sharp and Diaz work together here to work their way back up. And it looks like Diaz is playing the game. He's already bump drafting Andrew Sharp through this section. They want to help each other out as much as they can. They are not teammates, these two on screen, but they are the outsiders in this battle with the two teammates of Gardner and Brown. And have a look at that. Brown was a little deep, and that's exactly what Tech Sport didn't want. Now Sharp and Diaz are right back in it. Bad exit for Brett Gardner as well. I think he might have been backing off a little bit just to give us some extra draft to his teammate. But now the top 4 together coming up to Adenauer Forst. And this is a sequence of the circuit where we saw that potential big move by Brett Gardner, almost forcing Andrew Sharp wide, but I don't think that's going to happen this time around.
No, I think he's a lot more focused on this particular lap. Everybody just taking it easy right now. I think everyone knows that it's going to be a last-second move coming down the straightaway. I think everyone's just trying to mentally prepare for it right now.
Yeah, that's the nature of Nordschleifer Racing, as 3, 2, 1, 0. No time left in the race, and it is confirmed this will be the final lap of round 2 of the PRL, GR86 and MX5 series. The question is, who is going to cross the line in first place? This has been a fantastic fight all the way through. All 4 of the drivers you see on screen have had their moment in the limelight. Interesting to see that Sharp there looked like yielded to Diaz on the entry to that corner.
Yeah, I think Diaz said, okay, you had your turn, now it's my turn.
Yep, snatched some slipstream. Yeah. Yeah, this is the point where you can't afford to battle too hard, otherwise you'll lose too much time to the top 2 to be able to take advantage going past the castle. But the bump draft is on for Brett Gardner and Ian Brown. They'll keep themselves in line throughout the majority of this track. Question is, though, in this battle of the teammates, if they remain ahead of Diaz and Sharp, who's going to cross the line in first? Because I would imagine that Ian Brown will want that win. He did qualify on pole, but Brett Gardner currently leads the championship. So is it too early in the season to be playing the team game?
That's a great question, Reese. I don't really have an answer for you other than your teammates until the final corners.
I think that's a very good answer. Very good answer indeed. Well, it looks like the teammate battle will have to wait another few corners there, because Brett Gardner got a much better run through Carousel, and Diaz and Sharp still well within range. Just got to be careful through this section in particular. This is where we've seen the majority of incidents, and I think I almost saw Diaz going wide there. The curbs are very harsh in this section of the circuit, and if you hit them wrong, then you're going to be sent straight off the circuit. It looks like the drivers here have those corners sorted. Andrew Sharp dropping off a little bit. I certainly hope that he'll be able to stay within slipstream range by the time they get to the straight, because it seems like he had a very bad run through that section.
Yeah, must have just caught too much curb somewhere, and it just got his car upset. He's not by any means, I don't think, out of this fight for the win, as he takes a little too much curb there as well. And here comes Diaz.
Diaz gets into second place. But is he going to hold on to it? The inside line for Ian Brown, and he moves back on through. That gives an advantage to Andrew Sharp, but it'll be a three-way draft train trying to catch up to the number 51 who took the checkered flag at Winton in first place. A lot of curb there for Andrew Sharp.
Yeah, and if they get to the straightaway with that big of a gap between first and second, that's going to be bad news for Brett Gardner.
Oh yeah, very bad news indeed. They've caught right back up to him though by the time they get to Kleiner Carousel. And they all nail the way through that concrete banking. Oh, not the best of runs for Ian Brown though. Diaz side by side with him coming onto the straight, and they come together.
Holy
the C's part for Andrew Brown, for Andrew Sharp. And that's disaster there for Ian Brown and Michael Diaz.
Diaz has a broken left front suspension, and Ian Brown has no right rear wheel.
Oh, Brown's out. Our pole sitter is out due to a crash on the final lap. That is definitely going to be a replay to dissect. But Brett Gardner currently leading. Andrew Sharp in the slipstream and is catching up. This is the chance that Andrew Sharp needed to take the win here. Weaving to break the slipstream is Brett Gardner. Does Andrew Sharp have the momentum to catch up to him? Look at the overspeed. I don't think he's going to catch up in time for a move into the final corners, but he's certainly going to try. Flat out through the S's. And it's defensive from Gardner coming into the final corners. Sharp's going to try here, but there's no room. He'll have to settle for second spot. Brett Gardner, 2 wins on the board in the GR86 category. Andrew Sharp finishes in second. Wow, what a final lap.
I'm still trying to catch my breath, Reese. That was very intense. And holy cow, did Andrew Sharp get lucky. As we move back to the MX5s right now, it's just a 2-horse fight between the Itasca Point, I can never say their name right, Itasca Point teammates here. Pat LaBrosse gonna come down the straightaway here in first place with his teammate Michael Chase in second. And Peter Muller must have had a mistake somewhere, because he's about 6.5 seconds back. But if they keep it on track, Pat LaBrosse should be your MX5 winner.
Yeah, certainly should be. And looking at where LaBrosse was in the first round, 4th place, this is going to be a massive win for Pat LaBrosse and will definitely change the championship standings. Lincoln Fox and David Barkley, who were the top 2, retiring from this race, so LaBrosse will get maximum points in the MX5s here, with Michael Chase following him home. What a fantastic result for those two. And, well, it looks to me like that is the majority of the results here. This is the replay of what happened. So, yeah, it just looks to me like, yeah, Diaz, I think, trying to hold on to the position around the outside. Unfortunately, Ian Brown was just running a little bit wide, getting some understeer over the curb, and that sent him into Diaz. I think it's a racing incident deal, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to see it happen at all, but that's just close, hard racing, last lap, coming down to the wire. I mean, it sucks that it happened for those guys because they're not going to be able to finish where they wanted to, but I can't fault them at all for going for it either.
Yeah, it's what you'd expect. They're racers. They will go for it at every opportunity. Well, Brett Gardner taking the win by 0.3 of a second from Andrew Sharp. Jeremy Rogers will ultimately finish third. He passed Diaz at the final corner as Diaz had another crash at the end of the straight. Jean-Sebastien Bedard is going to get 5th place for the No Team team, and Gwinnett and Wyckoff get their Valhalla cars into 6th and 7th. Jake Cummings and Ian Brown, that's not the points they would have wanted in Tech Sport Academy. Brown, one of the retirees from the race. Josiah Douglas managed to finish in the top 10. Zach Yurt had a couple of spins along the way to an 11th place finish, and unfortunately we lost Kevin Berquist, Aidan Irvin, and Steve Bammer from the GR86 field. In the MX5s, Pat Labrosse by 0.5 of a second over Michael Chase. Peter Moller losing time on the last lap, but he'll still be happy with a third. Austin Bartlett Chase and Lincoln Fox, as well as David Barkley, they were all in contention for victory at some point in the race, but ultimately coming a cropper thanks to the harsh nature of the green hell. And with that, it is time for us to jump into interviews. The first driver we are speaking to is Brett Gardner. Well, that's 2 from 2 so far in the GR86s. Brett, certainly didn't come easy.
No, I wouldn't say so at all. That was very intense. I am mentally and physically tired right now.
Yeah, I'll bet you are. The GR86 has obviously got a reputation for not being the best car over big curbs, so many sections of this circuit would have been hard to negotiate. Yeah,
most of the time, but I gotta say I do think we set up the car pretty well to smash the curbs. But there's still those few ways that you can hit it in a weird way and just spin the tires coming out of a corner. But the car setup was pretty good. I felt like it was kind of weird in mid-speed corners, but it worked out.
Certainly did. Maximum points again from this round. We go to Lebanon next. How do you think you're going to go there? It's certainly a tight circuit.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never driven on Lebanon, so I will be running a few practice sessions, I'm sure, at the end of next week or middle of next week.
All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Brett, and congratulations on another victory in the GR86.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Brett Gardner there, getting a fantastic victory. Finishing second to him was Andrew Sharp, stood by with Mark Kalin.
Andrew, all I got to ask is, did you change your britches yet?
That view was insane. I think that slight lift I have cost me the win because I was terrified. But wow, what a great race. That was a lot of fun.
I mean, clearly you had Moses riding on the front bumper of your car because those cars in front of you just parted ways perfectly for you to sneak through there unscathed.
Hey,
I mean,
it must be because I'm with the organizer luck, maybe. I'll take it.
Well, manager to manager, I mean, you kind of got taken out in last night's truck race. Maybe this was a little redemption for you.
I cost myself the win last night, so.
But no, I mean, awesome racing, Andrew. What's your biggest takeaway?
I'm blanking on it. Brett and them, or their team is really fast. I'm blanking on their team name off the top of my head, but lots of fun race for them. Looking forward to racing them the rest of the season. I feel like the pace is good. I just gotta get a little bit of luck here, but I used up a lot of luck, I think, on that last turn.
I can't say I disagree with you there because that was insane. But no, that was awesome racing, Andrew. Really enjoyed calling that race for you guys. Hope you guys had fun racing out on the track on the Nürburgring. I hate that track, but
it's a challenge.
it is a very challenging racetrack. Are you looking forward to next week?
Yeah. What do we got? Lebanon. I've done a couple laps in this car around. Good track. I think it should be good for multi-class, so it should be lots of fun.
Well, that's awesome stuff. Andrew, we look forward to seeing you at Lebanon with another chance at victory. Thank you
hopefully.
for joining us, and you have a good night.
You too. Thanks for the broadcast. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Lovely stuff from Andrew Sharp there. And finally, we have a chance to chat to our MX5 winner, Pat Labrosse. Well, Pat, there was an intense battle all the way through, but it seems that battling behind you on the final lap was what sealed it.
Yeah, it does seem that way. It was a shame what happened to Lincoln. Had a spin on the first lap, I think. And then also it looks like David maybe had a wheel disconnect or something. So that was a shame to see them drop out. But it was a great fight with Peter and Michael through to the end. Got gifted a bit of a gap when Peter got bottled Michael up behind him through the back half of the track. But kind of still had a great finish there. And yeah, always a pleasure to race at Nords.
Yeah, certainly. Always a pleasure to watch as well, especially with the bump drafting down the flat-out sections. What's it like as a driver trying to negotiate your way around this place in a battle?
It's a pleasure. Like you kind of know that there's sections where people can't get by and then others where they can. Like Peter and I had a good side-by-side at the top of the hill coming out of Mud Curve. That was really good. Just had to be late on the brakes. But then, like, once you get through the carousel, is sort of just follow the leader and see if you can build a gap before the dot. It's a bit of a big strategy game.
Yeah, big strategy game indeed, and build the gap before the dot. You certainly did. It's a great turnaround from the first round of Winton. I mean, you still finished fourth there, but the top two from Let It On ended up crashing out in this race. So that's a big points advantage for you.
Yeah, I definitely didn't have the pace of the top two, at the very least at Winton. Kind of struggled at that track, but I love Nords, so glad to have a good result here, and we'll see what the rest of the championship brings.
Indeed we will. Thanks for joining us, Pat, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you after Let It On next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Pat Labrosse there with the fantastic finish in the MX5s. Well, we will go to, of course, the Circuit de Lebanon next week. This is actually one of my favorite tracks, Mark. It is a bit polarizing for many people on iRacing, but I've known about this track for a while, even before it got onto the sim, and I was absolutely hyped when they announced it. It's such an interesting track, so tight, so twisty, and look at that elevation change.
Yeah, it should be a great broadcast for next week. Hopefully we see more than 20 cars. Urging you guys out there watching to join next week and bring the action.
Absolutely. Well, we are going to leave the GR86 and MX5 series for another week, but now we get into Super Formula. Oh my goodness, we love this series. The first round at the Red Bull Ring certainly was a race of attrition and plenty of chaos out there. Let's see how they go on home ground here, Mark, at Fuji International Speedway.
Yeah, and Fuji is a challenging track. It's at least in the sports car series for me, I never really could get a good grasp of it, but in these high downforce Super Formula cars, should provide some exciting action.
It certainly should. In terms of the driver standings, well, we'll go to that in a moment because we got to check out the rest of the schedule first. We go to Spa next week, which should be a great match for these cars, but I'm looking forward in particular to seeing how the drivers handle Sebring. We don't often see international open wheelers racing at Sebring. In fact, IndyCar only ever tests there. The track is so bumpy and these cars are ridiculously stiff. It's going to be a chaotic night there.
Yeah, that always provides excitement, and I can't wait till we get there.
Yeah, can't wait either. Hungaroring was a great track last season, and I think the only returning track from last season. Well, these championship standings in Pro tell you just how much of a race of attrition Red Bull Ring was. J.R. Williams dominating the race. Mark McDonald, Manuel Vargas, and Pablo Valenzuela Uribe are the only drivers with points to their name coming out of the first round. Drivers like Ovando, Carson Keane, Rodrigo Munoz, they've got a lot to make up here and would have already used up their least effective drop round of the season coming out of the first round. Oh boy, it's going to be quite tight tight indeed if they can get some good finishes on the board in the remaining part of the season. In terms of the AM standings, well, a lot of AM drivers had a much better race than the pros. Frankie Brzezowski taking the victory there, with Cristobal Valenzuela and Gabriel Hopper in second and third. Punkari and Dawson Lathan are equal on 45 points each. And, well, there's obviously some very close runnings here so far in the AM standings for PRL Super Formula. In terms of the team standings, SRTE is on top. JR Williams, Brett Thurman, and Blake Ziti part of that team, and getting some really good points coming out of the first round. True North Racing and Final Lap only separated by 4 points. It's only 3 points between Backfire and Rookie, with Parabola and Illicit Vices 41 and 40 points respectively. But Solpec Precision Racing is looking for some actual points on the board for Boris Ovando. He'll be hoping that he can get the result that he needs for his team. With all of that, that's how things stand in the points for PRL Super Formula. We have 3 minutes remaining in qualifying, and on provisional pole is Pablo Valenzuela Uribe, who had a fantastic finish at the Red Bull Ring. He's gearing up for another lap here, so we have a chance to check out Fuji Speedway.
Yeah, as we ride on board with Pablo here, coming down the front stretch, crossing the start-finish line here. It's a long straightaway, good opportunity for drafting passes, and then it comes down to a very tight hairpin in turn 1. Late on the brakes, hard on the gas, use every ounce of track, and then it's a high-speed left-hander right here. Careful.
Very high commitment.
Wide.
Yeah, very high commitment corners in the first part of this lap. A long, never-ending right, immediately into the braking zone for the hairpin, which is a lot faster than it looks. Valenzuela gets on the power nice and early, then a couple of right-hand kinks on the way down to the final sector mark, which is basically like a go-kart track.
Yeah, basically you got a high-speed right-hander. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a different track layout than I'm used to. They have that little chicane in there.
Yes.
Well, going through the chicane, then it's up the hill into the blind left-hander, and then you're going to come into a very long sweeping right blind right-hander. Wide apex, cut it down, and onto the front stretch you are, getting everything you can and hoping it's a fast lap.
Yeah, it's all about that exit from the final corner. Fuji has one of the longest straights of any conventional racing circuit, and a 122.9 on that lap. Nowhere close to his fastest, but you never know. He might have one more opportunity to better his lap time. JR Williams, the championship leader, is currently in second spot, only 2/10 behind Uribe. So let's see if he can get it done there, but that was a little bit too much oversteer out of the hairpin.
Yeah, that's going to cost him a couple tenths at least, I believe, on top end speed through that very fast section.
Down into the chicane then. That's going to be one of the prime overtaking opportunities on the circuit, but it's so difficult to put the power down in these cars. 4-cylinder turbo engines in these Super Formula SF23s, which means that once you get on the power, you've got to be very careful when the turbo kicks in higher up in the rev range.
Yeah, it's not difficult to get a lot of extra wheel spin that you're not wanting.
Well, down the straight he comes. Is this going to be enough to topple Pablo Valenzuela Uribe? 1 minute 22 points. Oh, it's a 123. Unfortunately, not able to get it done there. Blake Ziti, meanwhile, across the line, and again, not very close as the checkered flag flies to getting a better time. But Gabriel Hopper just improved massively to P6 on a 123.04. Cristobal Valenzuela as well, getting very crossed up in the final sector. See what he can do to recover that in the last few corners, but very wide onto the front straight, and he's going to abandon that lap right at the end of the session. So last few drivers now to get a time in, Hugo Galaz being one of them, and Hugo in the number 57 down in 13th place right now. He'll have only 0.03 of a second or so to make up in order to get past Brett.
Be able to overtake Brett Pancari.
Yeah, not quite enough. Well, that's going to end off qualifying here for PRL Super Formula. And, man, what a session once again. This is going to be a very intense race. Pablo Valenzuela Uribe will start on pole position for the second round with J.R. Williams alongside him. Carson Keane, third place as Blake Ziti takes the AM class pole for SRTE. Jeff Groff and Gabriel Hopper will round out the top 6. Mark McDonald and Rodrigo Munoz, 7th and 8th. Christian Jasper and Frankie Brzezowski rounding out the top 10. Cristobal Valenzuela in 11th place alongside Brett Pancari. Looks like Hugo Galaz in 13th with Manuel Vargas starting alongside him. Manuel had some excellent driving on display at the Red Bull Ring. Looking forward to more of it from him here with Barry Cochran and Neil Alexander 15th and 16th. John Krauser and James Langevin rounding out the top 18. One more car in the form of Rodrigo Basalo. 19 cars taking to the start here at Fuji Speedway, and it's going to be a pretty long run to turn 1 from the standing start here, but I'm looking forward to some big action.
To some crazy moves down into turn 1 on lap 1 here at the start.
Yep, it's going to be a big overtaking opportunity, but the drivers will need to keep it clean because we saw at Red Bull Ring how much chaos erupted from the first few turns there. Drivers just getting on the power too hard on cold tires, and it's once again a place where it's a reasonably slow first corner, so it's all about your traction out of that turn to get it done. This is certainly going to be a fun race indeed. 55 seconds on the clock here with the rest of the drivers just about onto the starting grid. Of course, no pit stops in Super Formula. The tyres will last the full length of the race and you can't refuel the car, so it's going to be an out-and-out sprint where drivers will be taking opportunity of the overtake system.
And apologies for the slight little hiccup there, but we seem to have everything sorted out now. Just in time for the lights.
Yep, just in time indeed. And here we go. The revs rise and we are away for PRL Super Formula Round 2. Great start from Pablo Valenzuela Uribe. It looks like a bit of a poor start, meanwhile, dropping back for Mark McDonald. So 3 wide into turn 1. This is going to be chaotic, but it looks like all the field has gotten through the first turn cleanly. Nice to see. J.R. Williams under a lot of pressure from Carson Keane coming into turn 2, but he'll hold it round the outside as Valenzuela Uribe starts skipping away.
And we had a spinner. Barry Cochran has looped it around in the back of the pack, but he didn't hit anything, so he manages to keep it going.
Jeff Groff trying to get past Blake Ziti there at the hairpin. Wasn't quite able to get it done, but Ziti not having the best of runs out of the hairpin. He will defend the position coming into the chicane. And for the time being, they just need to get into the rhythm and make sure that the tyres are warmed up. Then they can start attacking. Remember, of course, Super Formula has an overtake system. 200 seconds worth of extra power that the drivers have over the course of the race, and they can use it for as long as they like at a time, but there is a 120-second cooldown that they have to contend with, and that's going to be somewhere in the margin of 1.5 laps that they have to contend with. Looks like
they are already on the push to pass.
Yeah, look at all the lights flashing there. See, the light flashing above the airbox is a sign that the driver is using the overtake button, and it was just enough for J.R. Williams to keep the position from Carson Keane there.
Yeah, and just to differentiate for you guys out there, the fast flashing light means they're on push to pass. The slow flashing green light means that they are on the recharge or cooldown.
Yes, and once the light starts blinking red, that means trouble because they don't have much left. They have less than 20 seconds worth remaining, but no one will be approaching that at this point of the race. We might be seeing it later on. 32 laps on the board here, and we're already on the second one. These cars are rapid around this circuit.
Yes, they are. 1 minute, 27 seconds. Got a late dive. Made the move. It is Mark McDonald and Christian Jasper battling it out.
It looks like Brett Pancari is right with them as well. Pancari up one position in the number 35, but the 216 of Mark McDonald trying his best to make up places here, trying up the inside of Jasper, not able to get the move done into the final corner, and I think that, if anything, has compromised his exit. He's still on recharge as the other guys around him are on push to pass. Meanwhile, push to pass active for Carson Keene. He's going for second spot, and he's going to take it from JR Williams, and a dive from Jeff Groff trying to get past Blake Ziti. It doesn't work for the time being, but we have that change for second, and Pancari has gotten by McDonald for 10th place.
That was a great move from Carson. Clean overtake of JR Williams. And that's something we're going to see all race long, is drivers using that draft down the front stretch to make the move.
Yeah, indeed. They got to be careful of the timing of it, though, because remember, Carson may have used the overtake button down the front straight this time, but he'll have to wait another 2 laps before he can use it down the start-finish straight again. You never know, he might have to use it to defend from JR Williams if JR gets a good run through the twisties. We'll have to wait and see. This is going to be a fun time indeed. But I think what's being demonstrated mostly is that this final section of the circuit, it's tempting to make moves up the inside, but it's all about the exit at the end of the lap.
Yeah, and you notice that JR took a much wider line through that corner, stayed far left of the track, and that just helps you get a better run down the front stretch, and especially with this draft, as you see him duck out now trying to take second place back from Carson Keene, and he's going to get the pass done by the time they get to the corner.
Yeah, stalled out at the end. He got off push to pass early. He's saving up a little bit more for later. So he manages to get the move done nicely. Moves being made in the back of the top 10 between Munoz and Brzezowski, McDonald and Jasper. Christian Jasper has fallen to 11th spot now. This is a very interesting battle in the midfield.
Yeah, it's very high action, high intensity. These guys are not wanting to give each other any kind of a breather. It is just non-stop battling.
Yeah, non-stop indeed. There's a long train of cars as well. We've had a few drivers who have lost a few positions. McDonald and Jasper are both down 2 spots. Brzezowski and Pancari up 2 spots. So we'll see how well they end up racing there. 2 big battles on track. Of course, the first is for second, and it's a 4-way fight between Williams, Keene, Ziti, and Groff. And then we have this 5-car battle from 7th down to 11th. Who's going to have the push to pass primed for the run out of the final turn? It looks like at the very least it's going to be Frankie Brzezowski. He's going to try and stay ahead of Mark McDonald, who is still on recharge, but McDonald has the slipstream and is able to keep up with him, as into 4th place goes Jeff Groff. Blake Ziti back to 5th place now.
And all this battling between JR and Carson, Pablo is just able to drive away from these guys. Pablo is the biggest fan of Carson battling with JR right now.
Yeah, indeed.
3.6 seconds.
Yeah, Uribe is the class of the field at the moment. Of course, he was super fast at Red Bull Ring as well. I believe he sat on pole for the first round of this series, but ultimately didn't come away with a great result thanks to early spins and crashes throughout the field. It's been a much cleaner start this time around. The PRL Super Formula is going to have many drivers in contention. Williams trying his best here to get on the power. He's going to line it up here out of the final turn, hit the apex, get on the power, and avoid going too wide out of the final turn. Those speed bumps on the exit will certainly ruin your run, but looks like nothing more to be said about the second place battle for the time being. Meanwhile, Brett Poncari, he has gone for some massive moves. He's actually advancing quite a ways forward, and seeing also that Christian Jasper is going for it too. They're going to try and go 3 wide into the first turn here. Jasper backs out of it. Brzezowski late on the brakes to try and stay with Poncari, but Brett in the 35 will get it done, up into 9th place now. Most positions gained in the field at 3 spots.
And excuse me, I love the at-home camera for Brett Poncari here using the VR headset. It looks like he's looking to the left going down a straight line. And look how far he's turning his head to catch the apex right there as well.
Yeah, and how hard he's working the wheel too. It's very difficult to get the best run in a Super Formula car. But Poncari has left them all behind as Christian Jasper will go for it on Brzezowski, coming into the hairpin chicane thing, and, well, just manages to avoid making contact. This is some great racing. Galaz Alexander and Cristobal Valenzuela are right behind them.
Yeah, this is fantastic racing from the midfield here. This is exactly what we love to see here at the PRL.
Yeah, great racing so far. Tell you what though, Pablo Valenzuela Uribe lost a lot of time on that lap, and Carson Keane is now within 9/10 of a second of the lead. That's going to be interesting to see how that works out. I'm not too sure where Uribe lost that time, as there's a big move here from Frankie Brzezowski. Great run down the straight, but can Christian Jasper hold on to it? Oh, a bit of a slow exit there for Brzezowski. And Christian and Hugo will be right there with him. This battle for 10th is going off. Brett Poncari just cruising away from them at the moment.
Yeah, Brett Poncari putting on a phenomenal race so far. I was looking back to try and see if I could find what happened to Pablo, but I am not seeing it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either. I don't know exactly where he lost that time. It's really interesting to see. I think he just had a poor run through the final sector, and
either that,
I don't know,
maybe he had a slowdown. I didn't see he got off track too much, but that's all I can think of.
Yeah, well, that's a bit of a mystery to work out. Well, if Pablo holds on to the win, we'll have a chance to chat to him after the race, and we can ask him about that. Regardless, the fighting's still going on here with Brzezowski. It's not free of Jasper just yet, but they are free of Galaz, Alexander, and Valenzuela behind. All the way to the pit wall goes Christian Jasper there to try and get the move done. Is this going to be enough?
Sorry, Reese.
Well, he gets the move done.
I was just going to say he faked left and then hard right.
Yeah, he certainly did. And just manages to clear Frankie Brzezowski coming into turn 2. Oh, wow. Yeah, the midfield battles here are immense.
Yes, they are. And they never let up for the most part.
Indeed. Oh no! Hugo Galaz with a spin out of the hairpin there. And that's disastrous for him, falling back to 16th place. He's going to take a while getting back up to speed. Got to be careful not to lose out to Barry Cochran and James Langevin. But, oh no, that's a huge shame for Hugo Galaz, who has lost his front wing in the process.
How did that happen? I didn't notice him hitting anything.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting. We'll have to keep an eye out for exactly what happened. I think it was in the recovery, potentially. Well,
It
actually,
was in the recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
We can get our director to queue up a replay as soon as he's ready. We'll show it with you guys.
J.R. Williams and Jeff Groff now fighting. This is interesting indeed. Blake Ziti has fallen from the top four, but we'll see another view of what happened to Hugo Galaz here. Just too hard on the power, and then he tries to get it spun up to recover, but there's too much momentum, and he just taps the tire barriers and loses his front wing as a result. That will certainly sting for him.
And heard JR coming across the radio in sim. I don't think he's too happy with Jasper at the moment. Or not Jasper, excuse me, Carson. I think Carson made a crazy lunge and caught JR off guard a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Jeff Groff as well with the big move to put J.R. Williams back to fourth place for just a couple of moments. It's certainly not going smoothly for J.R. Williams. As oh dear, that was a replay there for the.
And that's Rodrigo, who's already had issues to start off with in this race.
Yeah, Rodrigo Basalo has not had a fun time. He's already had to come to the pits once for damage, so that's unfortunate to say the least. Meanwhile, the battle for second rather, has calmed down slightly. Jeff Groff now trying to catch back up to J.R. Williams. He went for the dive at turn 1 a lap ago, and it didn't quite work out. He was a bit too deep coming into the first turn, but you're seeing that the pace here is in the favor of Williams and Keane at the moment. And the question for Williams is, can he catch back up to Keane? There won't be any strategizing in terms of tires or fuel in Super Formula. It'll all be down to where he deploys push to pass, if he can keep up good average pace.
Well, Reese, I have to tell you, I have 100% faith in the driving ability of J.R. Williams, as we saw all season long last season, that he'll be able to catch up Carson Keane here, probably within the next few laps.
Yeah, JR is certainly a very consistent competitor in these cars, and we'll see what the lap times are like as they come across the line here again past the grandstands. Beautiful run down the front straight here at Fuji Speedway, and for the time being, looks like JR Williams is the faster of the two, but not by much. It's just over 1/10 of a second that he gained on the last lap as Groff goes a little bit deep in the hairpin there. Got to be very careful of the dip in the middle of that hairpin, otherwise you're just going to understeer off.
Yeah, and that's not difficult to do, a very easy mistake to make. These cars not having ABS, so if you hit the brake too hard, you lock up just a little bit, slide the tires, and then it's just all downhill from there.
Yeah, literally in the case of turn 1. In any case, into the hairpin chicane thingy once again. Williams is certainly keeping it nice and gentle through that section as he chases down Carson Keane for second spot. They're not too far behind Uribe either. It looks like whatever mistake Uribe had around a few laps ago, he's managed to mitigate that, and he's built up a small gap again, but it's not the greatest of exits from the final corner. Keane and Williams not on push to pass at the moment. It looks like they're all just saving it up for the final couple of runs. You see a lot of push to pass usage in the opening laps of the race as drivers try to gain an advantage and get into a rhythm, but in this mid stage they tend to save it up for the last few laps. And as far as J.R. Williams is going, well, he's got some fantastic pace. 0.3 gained on Carson Keane on the last lap, and the fastest car on track. He was 0.4 of a second faster than Uribe, who is still a reasonable amount of time ahead, but still within striking distance if things go wrong.
Yeah, and I think we'll see J.R. Williams use push to pass if he can get a little bit closer to Carson Keane coming out of that last corner. I think he just wants to be a little closer than 0.6 of a second back. That'd give him a better opportunity for a pass.
Yeah, you've got to be within that amount if you want to make full usage of the overtake button. For the time being, it looks like Williams just holding station, but have a look at that. Overtake button active for Carson Keene. He sees that Williams is coming and needs to get it done. Needs to stay ahead for the time being. Williams didn't use overtake at all down the front straight that time. Makes up a lot of time under brakes. For the time being, it looks like he's not going to have much success in that battle for second. Jeff Groff's still very close, and we'll have to keep an eye on Blake Ziti as well. Remember, Ziti and Groff are fighting for the AM-class win here, and Ziti managed to run only a tenth slower than Jeff Groff on the last lap, but he's within slipstream distance.
Yeah, I mean, he's not too far out of this fight either, and he's doing a great job. Second place in the AM class currently. And yeah, just right there on the heels of Jeff Groff, waiting for Jeff to make a mistake, and he's there.
Yeah, exactly right. Keene and Williams ever closer, and Williams is diving in the final sector here to try and make up time. He would have seen that Keene was using the overtake button on the last lap, and he won't have the luxury of it this time round. Still on recharge, right in behind as they lap Hugo Galaz after pitting for a new front wing, and the run is there for JR Williams. Here he comes side by side across the line, and he is well ahead by the time they get to the braking zone for turn one. It's going to be fought by Carson Keene in the braking zone, but tighter line always wins in the first turn at Fuji.
Yes, it does. Shortest way is king.
It certainly is. Carson Keene will keep his eyes peeled for another move. JR Williams has proven to be quick but not untouchable. And we're almost at the halfway point of the race now. Carson Keene's got a lot to play for in these final 18 laps of the race. He just needs to make sure that he gets a good run through the final sector, because this lap he'll have the opportunity to use the overtake button.
Yeah, and personally, I'd like to see Carson just kind of relax here and ride behind JR and see if he can give JR the opportunity to run down Pablo and hopefully drag him along with him.
Yeah, indeed.
As you see on the steering wheel, push to pass is on for Carson, so he's going to be looking to make a pass into turn one here.
Yeah, here we go. The overspeed is active, a maximum speed of 305 kilometers per hour. Defensive from JR Williams, though. Carson Keene will not have the opportunity to get by. There's a slight lock up behind from Jeff Groff, who's managed to catch right back up to this battle.
And just like that, Reese, back up to 3 seconds of a gap for Pablo Valenzuela. He's loving this.
He absolutely is. We thought for a second that Uribe would have been in trouble, but apparently not. Just needed to get back into the rhythm, and his speed is looking untouchable at this stage, so it's all about second on back in this race. Williams versus Keene has been a great battle so far, and we still have plenty more of that to come. Who's going to get the better run through the twisty final sector here? A slight cross-up for Carson Keene coming over the curb, so he's going to lose a tiny bit of time there. But there's still plenty more to come in regards to that. Jeff Groff and Blake Ziti as well, they've closed up, and Ziti is still running pace that is comparable to Groff. The AM class victory is well and truly on.
Yes, it is. Yeah, both AM drivers, Jeff Groff and Blake Ziti, both doing a phenomenal job this evening so far. And I'm also keeping my eye out on another battle that could be shaping up for P9 with Pancari, Jasper, and Brzezowski. They're still a little bit separated, but it's starting to shape up pretty nicely.
Yes, nobody on overtake at the moment, but Punkari and Jasper, they've had a... Oh, God! All right. I won't count that as a commentator's curse because I didn't finish the statement, but Christian Jasper with a massive lock up there. I think maybe on the downshifts, the rear end locked up for him, and that almost cleaned up Brett Punkari.
Oh man, my heart just skipped a beat. I thought someone was going to get murdered right there. Here's a replay of it.
Oh, he was late on the brakes to start with, so losing the rear end there, just a slight lock-up, and completely destroyed his chance of getting past Punkari and into 9th spot. So Christian back down to 13th. He's got Neil Alexander and Cristobal Valenzuela up ahead of him, and not by much. The battle for second, though, still on, and oh dear, that was a bit of a slide there from Jeff Groff. He gets on overtake to try and mitigate the disadvantage there, but Blake Ziti might have a chance here to move into the AM class lead if he plays his cards right. He's not following Jeff Groff in the slipstream though, so I think he's just biding his time for a move.
Yeah, Jeff Groff moving low to be a little defensive in case Blake decided to make a move, but ultimately not close enough for Blake to make a move on that particular lap.
Yeah. Oh,
Here's another
there's
thing.
moves here. That's Cristobal Valenzuela getting past Neil Alexander there, and the recovering Christian Jasper right behind them. That was a good move there from Cristobal. He's certainly a fan of these cars as well. He's one of the drivers who's still here from last season, and a nice move into 11th spot. Got about 3.5 seconds and change to make his way up to Frankie Brzezowski. So I think for the time being, this race is being defined by people who are in battles, costing each other time. The drivers who are on their own, they can just cruise.
And Neil Alexander being very defensive with Jasper making a move into the hairpin.
Whoa! Yeah, that's massive there. But manages to keep him behind. Nicely done.
Very close to wheel-on-wheel contact right there, which could have been detrimental. But Jasper clearly the quicker of the two drivers here, and Neil just trying to keep him behind him.
Yeah, don't forget Christian Jasper's fastest lap is more than 0.3 faster than Neil Alexander's, and his average pace is certainly a lot better as well. So now, in the slipstream, down the front straight. Got to be careful though. Alexander's not going to let this position go easy. But Jasper going to move out and get the move done at turn 1. I think for Alexander, he's switching strategies here. Christian Jasper clearly faster. He's going to try and keep the position as hard as he possibly can, but has to yield. Now, he can potentially use Jasper to draft back up to Cristobal Valenzuela, who's gotten away from them now.
Yeah, and it shouldn't take too long for Jasper to run down Cristobal here, I don't think. Probably see a move on Cristobal here in the next lap or two.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of pace Valenzuela can hold on to. In terms of their last laps, well, Cristobal was 123.5. The slight side-by-side and almost biff and barge between Jasper and Alexander cost them a grand total of more than 1.5 seconds. Pablo Valenzuela Uribe is still keeping up his pace at the front of the field, just set a new really awesome lap, fastest of anyone on that lap, and still holds on to the fastest overall lap of the race.
And you see just ahead of Jasper there, Cristobal on the push to pass, trying to maximize his gains down the front stretch to get away from Jasper.
Yeah, it seems like, yeah, the point I made earlier, if you've got a gap to the cars behind and you don't have any pressure, then you can just focus on cruising as the drivers behind you battle. And I think that's exactly what Valenzuela's doing here. Though, having said that, Jasper took 0.4 of a second out of him on the last lap. So I'd say in about 3 laps time, if Jasper can keep that pace up, he might just be able to grab the position back.
I'd like to urge our director back to P4 currently.
Whoa.
Thank you, director. Appreciate that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, great stuff from our director. I noticed that a lap car was bottling things up, and we got a battle for P3 or P4, excuse me.
Yeah, Jeff Groff defensive on Blake Zeedy here, who's ahead into the braking zone. Groff is going to get on the brakes early and yield the position for the time being. So Blake Zeedy taking the AM class lead. What a fight between those two in the final sector. And Groff is nowhere near done. That was great stuff from Hugo Luis behind the scenes, almost preempting what you were saying there, Mark.
Yeah, we were like-minded and as one.
Always best when you're working in that method. So let's see what Groff can do here in the Ghost Squadra car to get that AM class lead back from Blake Zeedy. Groff has been quicker than Zeedy over the course of the race, but Zeedy obviously falling out of the top four on the first lap, and he's been working hard to try and get that position back ever since. It's taken him 20 laps to do it, but he's finally back in the position he started in. And yeah, amazing little fact here is, oh dear, that was Munoz, I think, going off the circuit there. Mark McDonald, no, it was McDonald going off, and Munoz has passed him for 7th spot now. Interesting point that even considering all the great battling that we've seen in the top 6, they're still all in the same positions they started in.
Yeah, and it just goes to the closeness of the field with particular drivers being very similar on pace.
Yeah, so if you weren't watching this race and all you saw was the qualifying and race results, you'd think, oh, that's a boring race, but it's been anything but.
And it's very rarely boring here in the Super Formula Series, and I've got to say, it's not only surprising, just based on other series that are out there, but it's refreshing also.
Yeah, very refreshing indeed. Super Formula has been a hit ever since it came to iRacing. It's become one of the most well-populated of the high-level open-wheeler series, and all the better for it, because we get some fantastic racing in these cars. They're really fun to drive, hard to go fast in, but if you can get yourself a good setup and you can keep up that good average pace, then you certainly have yourself a fun time, as Blake Zeedy and Jeff Groff are at the moment. Groff in the slipstream of Zeedy, neither of them on overtake. They're both on recharge, but Zeedy's trying to cover him. Groff is going to go all the way to the right edge of the circuit to try and get this move done, and Zeedy will yield to him. This is what we've seen over the course of the whole race. When a move is made into the first turn, the driver behind just blends out of it. They've realized by now that they have every chance possible to fight back. And I've just noticed Brett Poncari has fallen behind Frankie Brzezowski. Something has gone on there for 9th place. We'll have to see how this one works out, because Poncari's pace in the first half of the race was nothing short of magnificent, but it seems like he's having some problems now.
Yeah, that pass on Poncari came in the braking zone of turn 1. So it was a clean overtake for Brzezowski, but yeah, Poncari just off pace a little bit.
Yeah, Brzezowski he got that move done with the overtake button, it seems.
Yeah. But something else to mention here, Reese, is I've been kind of looking and gandering at J.R. Williams. He has not gained any time on Pablo Valenzuela. In fact, he has lost over 2 seconds since the last time we spoke about it. The gap is now almost 5.3 seconds.
Yeah, indeed it is. It's oh, hello, Jeff Groff and Blake Zeedy trading positions once again there. Looks to me like Zeedy is piling the pressure on Groff now. This AM class battle is certainly the highlight of the race so far.
Oh, and no! Big accident for Mark McDonald in P7.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Okay. And who else is that involved? There was another car involved in that.
Rodrigo
Basallo.
Yep.
Oh, no. That's a real shame. And, now it looks like the rest of the field making their way past, or they were on Rodrigo Basallo, but Rodrigo's decided to go back to the pits. I think the car just too damaged to get that done. So, that's disastrous for Mark McDonald, who was running in 7th place. And oh my God, yeah. Oh, that's such a shame to see. And, looked to me like Basallo turned in on McDonald as he was coming through, and McDonald making his displeasure known in the InSim text chat. He is not happy with Rodrigo Basallo.
Yeah, the stewards are going to take a very dim look on that racing action there. Very unfortunate incident, but this is the type of racing we want to see.
Oh my God. Okay, well that wasn't even what I was looking at. Basallo just going right into the rear of McDonald. That's really unfortunate. I think there were two parts to that incident. It was so the first was when McDonald went up the inside at turn 1 and Basallo turned in on him, and then McDonald had rear suspension damage, and unfortunately Basallo went right into the back of McDonald when he slowed down. So this is the first part of it, and I think Basallo just wasn't looking at his mirrors there. But then McDonald slams on the brakes right here, and Basallo just goes right into the back of him.
Honestly, I don't think Basallo had time to react to that, but it's just an unfortunate situation, and the stewards will deal with it the best way they can. And let's just get back to the racing action.
Yep. Big drama in the middle of the race, but we still have plenty of racing to go. Jeff Groff and Blake Ziti still trying to work it out here for the AM class lead, and both of them on overtake for the time being. They've got a lot of it left there. Just got to be gentle coming into the first turn here. It seems like Jeff Groff has managed to get a nice run out of that first hairpin. For the time being, Blake Ziti is just going to have to hang back, look after his tires, maybe cool them down a little bit for one final run. In fact, speaking of tires, well, I don't think they're going to be in much trouble of overheating them. Track temperature is only 25 degrees Celsius at the moment. It's nice and cool in Japan right now.
Yeah, it is, and for American units, it's a cool 77 degrees on the track and 73 degrees in the sky.
It is indeed. Lovely temperate conditions at the base of Mount Fuji. Of course, if you're unfamiliar with Fuji Speedway, well, it's called Fuji Speedway because Mount Fuji is right next to the circuit, effectively. Out of the final corner here, if you're driving from the cockpit, you'll be able to see Mount Fuji, the summit in the distance. It's a fantastic location for a racetrack.
And this battle between Jeff and Blake still very intense. It doesn't look it at the moment, but it is. They're both on the cooldown for their push to passes. Got about 5 laps left to go, 6 laps at the line. And these guys are just biding their time, waiting until that final moment to make a move, as we see on the leaderboard a pass between Neil Alexander and Cristobal Valenzuela for 11th.
Yeah, looks like Valenzuela spun, actually. That's a real shame for him. It was in the final sector. He just got crossed up over the curb. He kept it out of the barriers, fortunately. Here's what happened to him. Just, catching the curb at the wrong angle and sent him spinning.
Great job not to hit anything as well.
Yeah. Cristobal has had plenty of experience in these cars so far, so he knows exactly what to do when things go wrong. Just jump on the brakes and let the car come to a stop, and if you react in time, you'll be able to carry on without damage. Groff and ZT, it's still not over between them. JR Williams has managed to get a nice gap over Carson Keene. There's 1.4 seconds or so between them. So the battle for second in pro and overall is not on, but both of our AM class leaders having trouble with the power out of the final corner. Just that extra 60 horsepower is making things a bit difficult for the rear end out of the last turn. Well, let's see if ZT can catch up to Groff any in the braking zone for the first turn. And I mean, it looks like they catch up, but of course it's the accordion effect. As they come into slower corners, they tend to get closer together in terms of distance, but it's the distance in terms of time that you want to really be looking at there.
Yeah, visually can be very deceiving just because of how hard these cars can brake into a corner and how fast they accelerate out. So it's very deceiving to watch visually because as you can see here, the car ahead will just slowly pull away as it's just a timing deal.
Who's stronger through the final sector on this lap? ZT winding on as much lock as he possibly can on the steering wheel and trying to carry as much speed as you can through these sweeping corners going up the hill. It's a much more complicated circuit now than it was when it first opened as Fuji Speedway, and well, basically, out of the left-hand hairpin in the middle of the lap, it was just a long, never-ending right-hander to end the track and get you back onto the start-finish straight. But Herman Tilke took his pen to the track in 2004 when the track was purchased by Toyota and created this new FIA Grade 1 layout, and Fuji has hosted Formula 1 on a couple of occasions since. And looking at Blake ZT, with 4 laps to go, he only has 20 seconds worth of push to pass remaining, and I think that red light had been coming on a bit too early for his liking.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. I didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah, I was just going to call that out, that his light just turned red, meaning he does not have a lot of time left.
Yeah, the light's still very much green for Jeff Groff. ZT's been very aggressive on the overtake button in this race, but maybe he'll be regretting those decisions. Maybe thinking, oh, I could have saved it a little bit more. I could have let off it on a few laps, but you know, the temptation is sometimes too great to stay within touch of your rival in case they make a mistake. ZT has driven the wheels off that number 50 to try and keep the AM class lead, but currently Jeff Groff is the one occupying it. Excuse me, and there's a little bit more of the push to pass ready for Jeff Groff. Away he goes down the front straight. ZT obviously deciding to save it and stick in the slipstream. He'll be trying to make up his pace that way.
Yeah, he's going to have to hope for in the more cornery section of the track to make up his time for the time being. But yeah, typically it's the pro drivers putting on the great battles for the most part, but tonight here at Fuji, it's been all about the AM drivers for P4 and P5. Jeff Groff and Blake ZT just doing phenomenal jobs.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from the both of these guys. It's been a tough battle, but it's also been a clean battle, which we always love to see. Oftentimes in official racing, you see that battles are decided by drivers pushing a little too hard and coming together, and when that happens in a high-level open wheeler that's about as fragile as a crystal vase, it ultimately ends in tears for both drivers involved. But it's been great here between Jeff Groff and Blake ZT. Still a lot to come here, as across the line will go Pablo Valenzuela Uribe to make it 3 laps to go.
A driver that's not shying away from push to pass right now is Carson Keene, as he's trying to run down JR Williams. He's not too far behind him.
Yeah, not too far at all. Unsure exactly how much overtake JR Williams is going to have at his disposal, but his light is still green. Carson, though, it's blinking red, so he hasn't got much left. This is the final lunge from Carson King to try and grab second place, the second spot on the podium, to get some big points here at Fuji Speedway. In terms of the points, well, Carson was one of the drivers to DNF from the first round, and we didn't quite see the potential of his pace, but we're definitely seeing it here.
Yeah, for sure. Carson doing a great job keeping up with JR here. I can't speak enough in terms of Pablo Valenzuela Uribe's pace tonight. He is just the class of the field, clearly, and just trying to mimic his best JR Williams impression from Red Bull Ring and lead wire to wire.
Yeah, indeed. Wire to wire is the way to go. If you want a consistent result in this series. 2 laps remaining then, and the fight is still on between Williams and Keane. Groff and Ziti behind, separated by a few car lengths, so they don't have much in it. Who will run out of overtake first is the big question. It was just a little bit more used on the exit of the first turn there for Carson Keane. It seems like he's making up the majority of his time in this twisty middle sector of the circuit. Got to try and maintain corner speed, which is difficult in an open wheeler. He'd be getting some aero pushing those faster corners.
Yeah, dirty air definitely going to play a factor here, but Keane definitely turning up the wick, and finding a little extra pace out of that Super Formula car right now, as he is down to within 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, this is a great run from Carson Keane in the last couple of laps, and also a great run from Jeff Groff, as out of the final corner they'll come for the second last time in this race. What a race it has been in PRL Super Formula for round 2. Look at that. Both of our AM class leaders on overtake. JR Williams then responds to Carson Keane by getting on push to pass himself. What kind of run is Blake Ziti going to have here? The white flag will be for Jeff Groff in the AM class lead. He is just enough ahead of Blake Ziti to keep that position, but I'm sure Ziti's going to have a good run at him here. It was a good run out of the first hairpin there for Blake.
And Groff has gone red on his timing as well for push to pass. Does Blake have anything left?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly going to have the advantage in terms of push to pass, but yeah.
Really cutting that corner, taking every ounce of track he can to try and close this gap.
Yeah, plenty of pace, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Both of them on recharge now for the overtake button, so they won't be able to use it for the rest of the lap here. It's all down to the drivers who can get the best runners. Ziti goes a bit wide there. I think the battle for the M-Class lead is over, but for the Pro Class lead, Pablo Valenzuela Uribe, what a drive from pole position, dominating the race. This is what he would have been looking for at the Red Bull Ring, and he can finally get his season on track here with a win in round 2 at Fuji Speedway.
What a phenomenal drive from Pablo Valenzuela Uribe. Excellent stuff.
And Jeff Groff will hold off Blake Ziti for the AM class win. What a fantastic drive it's been from both of these guys. Really loved watching their battle. It was hard, it was clean, it was very satisfying to watch.
Indeed it was.
And it looks like Christian Jasper will hold off Brett Punkari for 9th spot, but still, what a great drive from Punkari. His form early in the race was spectacular to watch, and he'll get a top 10 for his troubles. Ultimately, not close enough to get the move done, though.
And Neil Alexander going to come home in P11 with Cristobal Valenzuela not far behind in P12. Then it'll be John Krauser to come home in 13th. and Manuel Vargas will finish off the race in P14.
So 14 of our 19 cars making it to the finish on the lead lap. Uribe with an 8-second gap over Williams and Keane, who are only separated by around half a second at the end of things. Jeff Groff, of course, 4th place in the AM class victory, with Blake Ziti rounding out the top 5. Gabriel Hopper had a very quiet race. We didn't focus on him too much, but sometimes a quiet race is a good one. He'll get AM 3rd place for his troubles. Rodrigo Munoz, with an unfortunate spin over the course of the race, he'll finish in 7th place, with Brzezowski, Jasper and Poncari rounding out the top 10. Neil Alexander up 5 spots. That's the most positions gained in the field. Well driven, finishing ahead of Cristobal Valenzuela and John Krause, with Manuel Vargas being the last finisher on the lead lap. Hugo Galaz and Barry Cochran classified 1 lap down. Such a shame for Mark McDonald and Rodrigo Basalo, the crash between them ending both of their races, and I think a lot more to be said about that behind the scenes from the stewards and the drivers, with James Langevin unfortunately not making it into the final laps. Just over half the race completed for him. But now we move on through to driver interviews, and it looks like the first driver to show up is JR Williams, who grabbed 2nd spot. Congratulations, JR. Backing up your Red Bull Ring win with a 2nd place. It was certainly a difficult battle with Carson Keane, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He did an amazing job. He was very quick. He was keeping me right in the window for draft. So once I lost him, I had a little buffer, and then I kind of lost it again. But good times.
Good times indeed. Fuji, of course, is home ground for these cars. How did you find it?
It's a very good course. In these cars, it's a little funky. Like, you know, as you can see, if you get within a second, you can use the push to pass and pass. So it's really just trying to break the toe in the curvy spots, and then hold that gap.
Yeah, plenty of opportunities for the overtake button as well. With the 120-second cooldown, though, you guys were having to wait 2 laps in between applications.
Yeah, and that was a big thing. For a little while, Carson and I were kind of offsetting, so we'd pass each other each lap. And so I was trying to bait him into using his so I could kind of get that, get that gap.
Well, get the gap you did, and we move on to the next round of the series at Spa. It's another track that's going to be very well suited to these cars. Do you think you'll be able to have something for Pablo there?
I have no idea. Pablo's so quick. I was a little more competitive with him last season, but I'll be honest, I just don't quite have the time to get to practice this season. So we'll see. I'll see what I can do. I do want to give a shout out for the series. We need more drivers. So if anyone's watching and is interested, send me a DM.
Absolutely. We'd love to see more drivers on the grid for the PRL Super Formula Series. It's one of my favorite series to commentate this year. Well, thanks very much for joining us, JR. Congratulations on 2nd. Hopefully get a chance to talk to you after next round.
Yep. See you later, man. Thank you, guys.
JR Williams there. And next up, of course, we have our race winner, Pablo Valenzuela Uribe, with us now. And Mark Kalin's going to have a chat to him about a dominant victory.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Pablo. No, you're fine. Congratulations, man. What an astounding race for you tonight. Domination to the max, led wire to wire, never lifted. I mean, how did you manage to do it?
Hey, guys. Thanks for being here again. It was a long wait to get the victory on the league, but I mean, it worth it. I love it. I've been working a lot with the car and with the setups and practice a lot. So I think the result of this is just the constant practice and being there and pushing to try to get with the rhythms with these guys. Today it was like everything like click. I think the car was great. I feel pretty good, and let me tell you that when I was on lap 6 or something like that, was a huge earthquake over here. Huge, like 7.4. So all my building was like moving, and I have to kind of see was pretty crazy, really, pretty crazy. So like achieve unlocked, like race, have a race and win a race with the earthquake. Achieve unlock. My God.
That is wild determination there, Pablo. Racing through an actual earthquake and a big one at that with a 7.4. Wow, that's wild. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one for me at least. I wanna save it over here somewhere.
That's just how much a win here in the PRL means to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's it. It's true.
Well, I'm glad you are safe from the earthquake. No damage hopefully was done, but awesome racing tonight, Pablo. And now we know exactly why you lost that 3-second lead initially. But that's awesome stuff, man. Congratulations. And is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, for sure. All the guys over here, hope everyone is okay. I'm gonna start to call everyone over here. And just to my team, the guys, my family, all the guys that are watching, and to my sweetheart that she was a little bit scared by it, and with all of the reason to it.
Well, not even Mother Nature could keep Pablo Valenzuela Uribe from winning here at Fuji. What a fantastic drive that was. Well, we're going to move to our AM class now, and Jeff Groff managing to grab the AM class victory over Blake Ziti. That was a tough one, Jeff. Very close battle.
Yeah, to say the least. That was insane.
How'd you feel going into the start? Because, it's obviously very tight quarters, especially through the final sector.
Yeah, I just wanted to get through that, the last sector. That thing is rough on these tires. I mean, the first 2 laps, you just have to just try to keep it slow, keep it clean, and then get through the lap. And then hopefully the tires warm up and you can get through it. But yeah, those first few laps are tough.
Yeah, certainly were. But as the race went on, you and Blake were battling as hard as you like, and it ultimately, I think, came down to who was able to save the overtake and that extra power for those last few laps.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been in such a close battle, but these cars, it's really, really cool to race close with other drivers, and especially when they race clean, and it's great to get through a race like that.
Certainly is. Well, maximum points from this round in the AM class for you, Jeff, and getting onto 4th as well, which is going to be a great points total for you. I think after Red Bull Ring and the chaos of that, it's nice to get some consistency down.
Sure, yeah, that was my whole goal, was just to get through the race clean and get some points. So mission accomplished.
Indeed. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Jeff. Hopefully we'll chat to you after next round at Spa.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Jeff Groff there, winning the AM class over Blake Ziti, who is with Mark now.
Blake, phenomenal job on P2 in the AM class and P5 overall. Looks like you just came up a little bit short there at the end. What little bit extra did you need to try and get that victory?
Hey guys, thanks. It seemed to be like turn 13 to 15. He was really killing me and Jeff, and I just couldn't figure it out there to make up the time.
Yeah, at some sectors it looked like one was quicker and the other was quicker in other sectors. That's just how these road races go at times. But I mean, nothing. Excuse me, lost my train of thought. But you were just on a phenomenal drive tonight. The car looked really stable for you, and you came home with a podium finish. Moving forward, do you have anything in particular looking forward to for the next race?
Yeah, well, finishing for one is great. So I'll start there. I think I made it like 30 seconds to the last race, which wasn't too great for me. So yeah, just looking to stay solid, stay up on the podium here in the AM class, and see if we can stay in the points here at the end.
Gotcha. Well, Blake, before we let you go, is there anyone we want that you want to shout out for your great finish tonight?
Yeah, just like to thank my team, SRT. Everybody works really well over here and helps each other out with feedback. So thanks to them. Shout out to JR and Pablo for a great race tonight. And you guys, as always, you guys always do a great job.
Well, we appreciate that, Blake. And as always, we look forward to seeing you on track next week. And hopefully you'll have a good run as well. And we'll get to talk to you again.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Blake.
Well, there we go. Blake Ziti with a fantastic drive to second in the AM class here in PRL Super Formula Round 2. Well, Round 3 is next week, and my goodness, what a track it's going to be. Spa-Francorchamps is the next round of the series, and whoa, I absolutely love this circuit. It throws up a great race in any car. It's considered one of the finest racetracks in the world, and for very good reason, Mark.
Yeah, Spa is a phenomenal racetrack. I personally love driving around this circuit. It's a real pleasure and awesome flow to the track. And it's just fun. I mean, they got a 24-hour race coming up in iRacing this weekend, and that should be exciting as well. RaceSpot will be covering part of that as well.
Yep, RaceSpot covering the iRacing Spa 24, so make sure that you tune in for that, and also tune in for the next week of PRL racing here as we say our goodbyes. A big thanks to everyone out there for tuning in and watching. It was certainly great to have you all along for this incredible ride through GR86 and MX5 and Super Formula as well. Thursdays here at the PRL never fail to impress. I'm Reese Gardner, Mark Kalin with me in the comms box, Hugo Luis bringing you all of the pictures that you've seen tonight. We appreciate you all. Big thanks to PRL and to the sponsors, and we'll see you next time.